Welcome back to the channel, guys. Hope you're all doing okay. Today I've got another history debunked video, and I'm going to be answering some of the questions that he has asked. I also want to just take a little moment to plug my Patreon. No, it's not videos related to politics or anything like this, but I'm doing some episode reactions to some old UK comedies. They're like less well known kind of things that I want to introduce people to because I think they're great. So yeah, I've got a Patreon channel now. The link will be in the description. It's only $1. That'll get you access to all the full episodes. When I put them onto YouTube, I'll have to edit them to remove some adult content and things like that. So I've only made it $1, so it's not really expensive. But in the future, I do plan to do some like movie reactions or documentary reactions, and you'll also, just by subscribing to that, have the power to vote for what I watch, or to give me suggestions and stuff like that. And it would be awesome to see you over there, because that would really help support this channel and get some more content out. So without further ado, let's take a look at this video and see what he has to say and try and answer some of his questions.
One of the things which really seems to irritate left-wing people and those belonging to the anti-racist movement,
that speaks for me, I suppose. I'm anti-racist and I am left-wing, not really extreme left-wing or moderate left-wing, I see myself as, but let's carry on.
Simple questions. For instance, when I asked yesterday why people thought that 90% of white candidates for the solicitor's qualifying examination passed, but only 52% of black people, there were those who grew angry simply for the question having been asked.
Just to answer that, in my capacity, as I haven't really looked into this at all, I would suggest that since the majority of people likely applying for that kind of job would be white, and the majority of people in this country are white, it seems logical to me that the higher percentage of pass rates would go to the majority of applicants. So if the minority are black or Asian or whatever, then they're going to get a lower pass rate anyway. So let's carry on.
Simply said that X was one reason for this, or that perhaps Y was a factor, or Z could be considered.
Another option, it could be racism. It could be institutional racism within that exam board. That wouldn't be unlikely, given that quite a few institutions just recently have been found by courts to be institutionally racist. So I'm not quite sure though why you've decided to highlight the difference between those two. I haven't watched your video about it, quite honestly, so it would be interesting to know why you've picked out white and black as a way to look at this, rather than a difference between white and another ethnicity, or age groups or genders or something like that. Why is it race?
Instead, they wanted to talk about supposed racism without telling us how this could have caused black people to fail the examination.
Well, if it is racism, then if a white person is in that institution and is racist, and a black person takes the course, and that person happens to mark that exam or whatever, then they might unfairly give them a bad grade. That's the kind of thing a racist person would do. But I don't think I'm not sure there's any suggestion of racism at all. It would be an interesting one to look into in the future.
I dare say that the same thing will happen today, because I'm asking another simple question, which is why anybody would assume that inviting another 1.5 million people to come and live in Britain, all in the space of a single year, is a good idea and to the benefit of anybody living in Britain.
Alright, so my answer to that would be that we have I don't know if you can see it on there, so I'll put the link in the description. But we have over 1 million job vacancies in the UK, right up to June this year. That was the last statistic I saw on that website. So it would make sense that, you know, if you're low on workers, that you bring in workers. Surely, I think, and obviously that's a benefit to the country and the people of Britain, because that's people providing services, that's people helping businesses to create more money, more profit, which, if the plan works as it should, goes back into our economy and boosts our economy.
1.3 million people have been given permission legally to come and settle in Britain to either study or work, and also to join family members already living here.
1.3 million, that's exactly the number of job vacancies. So obviously, yeah, like you said, some people will be coming to study, but the majority of those of that number will be coming to work and provide a service in this country. Also, you know, pay tax and spend their earnings as well in this country. A degree of them anyway, even if they are sending money back to family abroad, they'd still be spending some money here, which would be putting it back into the economy.
In addition to those folk, there are also all the Chinese people from Hong Kong who have come here, the Ukrainians, and around 50,000 illegal immigrants.
You really need to understand the difference between, not just for your opinion, because you're allowed to have your opinion, but your opinion should be based on facts. And there is nothing to suggest that it's nonsense to say that people crossing the channel are illegal immigrants. They are seeking asylum. Now, this is immigration, when especially asylum seeking, is a problem that is dealt with by law, by the courts, okay, and the Home Office, obviously, the government. So illegal immigration is when somebody applies for a visa, either with a false identity or false documentation. Maybe they've got a legitimate documentation and identity, but they lie as to the reason they're coming here. Maybe they fill out an application to come and study, but actually they just disappear when they get here and go into work. They're people that deceive the authorities. They're people that hide from the authorities. They're not people that cross the channel in the hopes of being picked up by the authorities in a boat to be taken to shore safely, and then make a legal claim for asylum. Asylum and immigration are two completely different things, and that's presumably why you mention them with two different figures, in two different circumstances, in two different sets, let's say. People coming from China, people coming from Ukraine, those are asylum seekers. Those are people that are settling here, coming from a place where they will not be safe.
All told, this amounts to about 1.5 million people in the course of a year who have come to live in this country from abroad.
Okay, so if that's then all in total, including asylum seekers, then that says to me we need more immigration. And you have to imagine that if a lot of people come here and fill up the job vacancies, that then more job vacancies will be created.
I give links to the Home Office statistics about this, and also to a news item which summarises the situation. I am saying nothing other than that I can see disadvantages to this huge level of immigration.
Yet you haven't provided a disadvantage yet. You've just talked about it.
For example, because it massively exacerbates the housing crisis and makes it very hard for people to find a flat to rent.
Well, no, it doesn't, because if you're an immigrant into this country, when you apply for your visa, you have to sort out, in that instance, somewhere to live. You have to have that sorted before you come here, so it doesn't create a strain on the housing market. If they weren't able to get a home before they applied, while they applied for their visa, then they wouldn't be able to come here.
Having another 1.5 million people coming to the country in a year is bound to do that.
Now, I would agree with you, having 1.5 million people, we couldn't sustain that year on year, especially with this government. So there's, part of me agreeing with you there that, I hope that isn't a thing that continues, because, well, especially if we have another Tory government, because they are not about growth. They are the anti-growth coalition, aren't they, really? They don't want growth in this country. They want to slim down. They want to be conservative, right? They don't want a massive, rapid expansion of growth or people. If they continue doing what they're doing, it's going to be a continuing shrinking population, less services, less availability. That would be horrible.
What are the advantages, though? I can see that universities rely now upon getting foreign students so that they can balance their books. They get more money out of the foreign students. They can charge them literally whatever the market will bear.
I don't know if universities charge more for foreign students, but obviously foreign students will have to pay more just because they have to come here to study. I'm not sure if they actually do pay more for courses. If they do, it's an issue worth looking into, but that doesn't on the surface suggest anything untoward. There could be a multitude of different reasons why that's okay.
There's no upper limit to how much universities can charge foreign students.
Alright, if that's true, I didn't know that, and that's interesting to find out.
But that's only an advantage to the universities, not to the general population of this country.
It is an advantage to the people of this country, because hopefully some of these people who are doing these courses will stay here and then find employment in their field, which would then, if it's something that requires university education, that's usually, not always, but usually something that is needed or in demand within the population. Also, they'll be in a job paying tax and contributing towards the economy. It benefits the university, yes, but the university have to spend money in this country too to maintain their levels of education and their buildings and all sorts of stuff like that. So that's also contributing towards our economy.
Quite the opposite, in fact. It may be placed in the category of disadvantages, because it means that British students end up being denied places because they're not as profitable as foreigners.
If you have some evidence of that, it would be interesting to see. But without any evidence, we can't really say here or there. It's just your opinion, and nobody really knows what your opinion there is based on.
I honestly cannot think of any advantage to letting another 1.5 million foreigners come and live in Britain.
Again, your use of the word foreigners, I know it's to signify that people are coming from abroad, but what would the difference be if 1.5 million British people suddenly turned up overnight ready to do the jobs? And I don't see why the problem is because they're foreign, or why that is a term that's needed at all, really. They're just people that are wanting to work or study in this country, which they're legally entitled to do.
Already I can hear the shrieks of racist, xenophobe, little Englander, and so on.
I'm not going to say those things. I think there is a very good case for saying that not all racism is racist, and that sounds a bit funny, but some racism is caused purely by ignorance, and it's not racism with intent. It's sometimes racism that is just there because a person has never known anything else?
Because abuse and insults are all that can be used in answer to the questions which I pose. I know that there are people watching this who comment unfavourably on what I say about immigration, and here is a good opportunity for those people. Is it possible, without asking to see my CV or muttering about the result of my 11 plus, for any of those people to explain in plain, simple language just exactly why having 1.5 million more foreigners coming to live in Britain over a single year is a good thing for British people?
Well, simply for the reasons I've stated. Just to summarise, it's always a boost to our economy when people come here to work. It's usually a boost to our economy too when people come here to study. It's also usually a boost to our economy when people come here to seek asylum and gain asylum and end up working, right? I don't think there's any example where either immigration or the asylum process has ever been a net loss for our country. I don't think that's ever happened. If it lost us money, I don't think we'd have an immigration policy at all. I don't think we'd be signed up to the Refugee Act. I don't think we'd be signed up to the Human Rights Act if those sorts of things weren't in some way a profit to our country. So yeah, it's been cool to answer these questions. I'll happily, if I'm wrong on things or if I made a mistake anywhere, I'll happily accept that maybe I'm wrong, and I will look into it, and I won't just dismiss anybody. I hope you feel a little bit more informed. Of course, I will leave links in the description to all sources, including History Debunks links. And I also want to encourage you to go and look into these things for yourself, and to use the adage to do your own research, because doing your own research, as I found, is incredibly satisfying. It's really nice to know that you know something, and it's really nice it gives you confidence, and it helps build you as a person. The more intelligent a person is, the more interesting they are, and differences aside and opinions aside, I think it's important to engage in conversation calmly and politely and respectfully, and that's why I'm not interested in making jibes at these. I disagree with this man on a lot of things, but to me he seems like a cool man. He seems like he's had an interesting life, and he seems like he does interesting things. So why would I want to come to somebody and be disrespectful? Again, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you like it, leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. And just one final plug: if you want to see full TV episode reactions, you can catch them on Patreon. They'll be on there for about 3 days at the moment before I post them on YouTube, where you can watch them for free. But they will be edited on YouTube, and they'll still be in context, but there's some adult humour and some more adult themes that I'll have to take out, as well as make editing around YouTube's policies. And yeah, thanks for that, guys. See you in the next one. Bye bye.